Hi, this is Chris.
Hi, and I'm Kai.
It's Kinky Politics coming to you this week to talk to you about the Kamala Harris VP pick and what that means for the Democratic Party going forward. So I feel like you should probably lead this one off, being a woman of color, and this is probably a little more significant for you because this is the first time a woman of color in our country has been nominated for basically anything above Senate, right? Yeah, well, Supreme Court, I guess, but you know,
Yeah.
uh, first time for a VP. I feel like there has been a female vice president before. I can't remember her name. It's like something Geraldine Ferraro. Why do I keep seeing that name pop up? Was she not a VP pick?
I think you're talking about the sexy Republican, the governor from Alaska.
Sarah Palin. Oh shit,
Yeah.
forgot about Sarah Palin.
Remember her?
All
With
right.
who was it? The guy who died, the president,
Okay.
McCain.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Kamala's not the first woman VP
Yeah.
pick, but the first woman of color, and they've hyped that up quite a bit. So, one of the most important things I think that they're kind of hyping up with Kamala Harris is she's going to kind of change, I don't know, change politics in some way for women of color specifically because they are kind of have been the backbone of the Democratic Party for decades. So this is kind of hopefully going to change how uh, black women feel underrepresented by the Democratic Party, even though they vote for the Democrats like 95% of the time or something like that. So, how do you feel about this and how it's going to change representation for women of color?
Yeah, I mean, well, thanks for the. I feel like this is an interview, even though this is supposed to be a discussion. I appreciate you giving me the platform, though, as a Black woman. So thank you. Um, Sorry, my shakes in here. Honestly, if I'm honest, Chris, if I'm honest, I was devastated. I was devastated. Not because, you know, she's a Black woman, and because she's a woman, and because it's exciting. I mean, for me, in many ways, she's so relatable to me, representation wise, physically wise. Like she's of my same complexion or a similar complexion. We wear our hair the same. She's got two immigrant, parents. She's biracial. It's literally like seeing myself up there and someone who's interested in politics. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, I remember when I first saw her and heard her, I was for the first, maybe the first 2 hours, I was like, wow, she's amazing. I didn't know really much about her. And I thought this was like, wow, she's amazing. And then I started to do research up on her and I started to listen to her more in some of those Democratic debates in the beginning. And I was like, wow, for sure. She's not, you know what? She's not my favorite. She's not my favorite. And then it started to be, I really don't like her. You know what? Turn the channel. Kamala Harris is talking. Now, things have definitely changed. I think my dad, first things first, I woke up in the morning and I checked my email and my dad sent me an email and he's like, wake up, the subject line, wake up, call me immediately. You won't believe it. I call my father. My dad is like, listen, Kamala Harris is the VP pick.
Yeah.
And it was funny because my dad also doesn't like her for
Oh.
many of the reasons why I don't like her.
Hmm.
And I'm like, Dad, are you kidding me? And this feeling of like just despair fell over my whole body. And I had to look and I Googled and I researched a bit. And I'm like, wow, this is really happening. And then I sat with it for a while. And I think I remember, I even messaged you. I'm like, this is terrible. This is
Yeah.
fucked. We're all fucked. And I had to take
You're
some
much more
time.
optimistic now.
I had to take some time to revisit my feelings because interestingly enough, when Obama was running, and at the time my boyfriend was a strong Obama supporter, when he was running, I was like, nah, there's no way. I don't want anything to do with this progressive man. And, you know, he's got a name like first and foremost. I mean, I work in marketing. I've worked in marketing for a long time. So first and foremost, he had a name like Obama. We just got rid of, we were just dealing with Osama bin Laden, and he comes on the scene with Obama,
Yeah.
Barack Obama. I just was like, this is horrible, and I didn't like the way, contrary to many people, I didn't like the way he spoke. I felt that I've always felt like, people in politics should know how to not use, how to use their words and not have to use fillers, and I felt like Obama was always every chance, and I was just like, what is this? I was on speech and debate team in high school, so couldn't do that shit, so I had, long story short, in the beginning, I was pretty against it. And I was like, there's no way he's going to win.
Yep.
No way. And I had to take a step back to realize, wait a minute, the country's changing. The country's changing. This is saying something about the way the country is changing.
Yeah.
And I realized what happened in those Democratic debates to get us where we currently are with Harris is, it was Bernie Sanders who pushed the whole a black woman VP and asked that question and was like, hey, we need to see this.
Yeah.
And I think he challenged Biden with it. Didn't he? He was like,
I remember Elizabeth Warren, I think it was, pressured them to commit to a woman. And I think they committed to that. And then later it somehow shifted into being pressured into a woman of color, which they all, because by then it was just Biden and Bernie. So they're like, are you going to pick a black woman?
Yes. And I feel like that was Bernie. Obviously, that's the man I think many of us wanted, millennials and Gen Zs. That's many of us wanted that man as our candidate. But, I'm starting to realize how it's shifting. And I realize it's now headed in the right direction. Is it the direction we all hoped for? I can't say she was my first nor my last pick. But right now I realize that she is I will use this term as nicely as I can for both her and him. She is the moderate that we have, and it will give us a chance to move away from this insane party and this insane administration and into a direction, hopefully, that leads us into something much more progressive. And most of her, universal health care, most of her initiatives, she was probably one of the most progressive, candidates. And not that I need necessarily super progressive, because look, my guy was Mayor Pete, but I'm rambling. I'm okay with it now is what I'm trying to say. Okay. I'm okay with it now. In fact, I'm not even looking back, and I'm not even saying, well, what about this? And what about this? That was 10 years. You know what I mean? No, I'm looking forward, because this is the direction we need to go in to get to where we need to be. So I'm okay with it, and I'm happy seeing myself. I'm very happy seeing myself, and seeing someone who looks like me. And I know that other women of color, even, you know what I mean? For many minorities, this is pretty cool. It started obviously with Obama, but this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I understand why people are kind of hyped up, because it feels to me, I was in college during Obama. So I remember everybody thought the world was going to change when we elected Barack Obama, and then he just gave us more of the same for the most part. Um, it's largely what I expect from Kamala, but the thing about Kamala, I guess, that I'm trying to be optimistic about is she has no principles. Her only focus is to basically maintain power, get reelected. So if we put enough pressure on the Democratic Party, there's a chance she could do some positive things for the masses in America. But if we don't put pressure on the Democratic Party and we do what we did under Barack Obama, where we just celebrated the fact that we elected a brown person instead of actually holding that brown person accountable, then I don't think much is really going to change. I think she'll just give you more kind of the same things Barack Obama and Bill Clinton did, where it's kind of like things get a little bit worse for the majority of the country, but not enough worse to where you're going to vilify her. Like, she'll keep the house from burning down, but she's not going to fix the house. That's kind of what I'm expecting, unless we hold her feet to the fire. And because what I've noticed over multiple election cycles is when a Democrat gets elected to office, they can do certain things that we, without any accountability, that we freak out when Republicans do, like starting new wars, deporting record numbers of immigrants, things like that Barack Obama did that we were silent about. But then when Bush or Trump did those things, we freaked out and called them like, racist and sexist and things like that for cracking down on immigration or only bombing, brown countries. Like, I remember Barack Obama ran out of drones because he droned so much. Like, we just ran out of bombs, so we didn't have any for a little while. So it's little things like that. Like, I don't want to see.
Sorry, just cut you off real quick. Real quick. Let's keep in mind that Barack Obama did not have a full support of Congress. Okay, he had largely conservatives that he was working with, so lots of things he was not able to pass.
Well,
so it wasn't just Barack Obama here. Okay, as a lone-standing man, all right. It wasn't just this even split or a house full of Democrats. Okay,
first 2 years they could have done anything they wanted. That was where I was disappointed, because they had the numbers in the House and the Senate to basically pass any legislation they wanted his first 2 years, and all we got out of that was Obamacare, which is a Republican health care plan from the 70s, and he bailed out Wall Street instead of homeowners. And then after that, Republicans kind of took over the House or the Senate, I forget which, and then he couldn't do anything the rest of his term because Republicans blocked everything. But
right, but we always know for the first 2 years, nothing ever happens.
Yeah, well, I don't blame him specifically. I mean, that's on the entire Republican or Democratic establishment, because it wasn't like Democrats in Congress were pushing him to do more. They were just kind of like, yeah, let's bail out Wall Street. That's fine.
No, I think the first 2 years, we know that everyone's just trying to get used to what the fuck is going on here. This is the first, and not to really make excuses about it, but this is the first time we've seen anybody in office who is Black nor a minority up in there. So everybody was getting used to Barack Obama being in there. Obamacare was transformational and has been transformational. It's like, even if the Republicans introduced it in the 70s, it was long gone, and we needed it. The country needed this. So now that it's here, you know what I mean? Like, that was huge in his presidency. So I'm in a little bit of a disagreement.
Yeah, we disagree about Barack, I guess.
But I'm not saying that he was, any more effective than, but I won't say he was any less or just like, no.
The other big thing about this is,
oh, sorry, one more thing before I forget. Thing to remember, which we can have these sort of like hard passes on her, like, oh, she's got no principles, and oh, blah, 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 blah. One is, we only know what we know. Okay, we only know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. And a lot of the shit I feel like you're talking about happened years ago. That's one. Two, like many years ago. Two, you're right with the likability thing. I really think that both her and Biden are all about likability because, you know, Biden has said some fucked up things and done some fucked up things for Black people, for minorities in general. And really, in many instances, I've thought he was Republican. I was just like, how is he any different? But you know, times are a little different. That's one. And we're actually, and when I say I know that you're someone who's like history repeats itself, but times are much different. We have somebody in office right now who doesn't respect anything, who does not respect anything, whether that's accountability, whether that's factual information, who's okay to lie, who's okay to leave his country, to abandon his country in a pandemic. We have a man who's just okay with anything.
Yeah.
So we're looking at now who can save us. Americans are looking at who can save us, right? And I feel like in many cases, as we know, Black women often are they're the lowest on the totem pole, first of all, but are often held to a much higher standard. They're just in, like, you know, work situations or in the workforce. We're treated a bit differently. We're treated harder. We're not treated the same as white women. We're not treated the same way as white men. We're held to a higher standard and we're scrutinized more than any other race. And so already the memes and the attacks on Kamala Harris are just unreal. They're unreal. I don't remember it happening like this to Sarah Palin. People were just like, she's just so stupid and attractive. She's just so stupid and attractive. But boy, did she have some leverage. And she wasn't anywhere near qualified or had any of the positions that Kamala Harris had. Just saying. And in my opinion, a lot of the ways that Kamala Harris has acted is really no different than any other male politician that has been walking around. She just happens to be a Black woman. So we look at her with a scope like, fuck you, we're getting in and we're doing damage here. Holy shit. You know what?
I think you just brought up my main concern about Kamala Harris is, you know, we're at a time where I think we would both agree, and I would venture to guess that 90% of Democratic voters would probably agree too, that we need change right now. Like, the house is on fire, I think is what you texted me the other day, something along those lines. Like, the house is burning down. We kind of need change. I don't think we can go back to the same policies and way of politics that led to the house being on fire. And you just said that Kamala Harris basically supports basically everything that these old crusty white guys that have been in power for a while support, policy-wise anyway, at least so far in her career. Who knows what's in her heart, but so far in her career, she's pretty much supported the same policies that have led us to the house being on fire. So given that we need change, how do you see that happening? Like, what do you do you think things are going to change? Do you think things can change with the Biden-Harris presidency, or do you think we have to wait until after Biden? Like, how do you see the change coming about that we need to kind of save the house from burning?
I think what you said, in that we will hold her accountable, and what I said, in that likability is a huge thing for her.
Yeah.
And she won't escape that. So she has to do what we say.
I feel she's pretty likable with, like, the general public that doesn't really, people that aren't like super into politics and don't dig into her record so much, because most people don't. Like most people don't care about what she did 10 years ago. They'll never care about that. All they're going to care about is what they see from her. She's attractive. She speaks well. She's got that Obama type quality. She's nowhere near Obama's level of speaking, but she just has that kind of quality where if you don't really know anything about politics, like I could easily see you really liking Kamala Harris. But for people that are really into politics, which is a small amount of people, they are the only ones that seem to dislike her. Like everybody else seems pretty ecstatic about this.
I think a lot of white men are threatened by Kamala Harris.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah, I think a lot, and I think that most white men do not like Kamala Harris. You're not the first person who's been like, I don't like Kamala Harris. And also, and it makes sense to me because most white men are in positions of power. Or if they're not in a position of power, they feel entitled to power. So they're comfortable.
Okay.
So, it makes a lot of sense. She's a strong, attractive, well-spoken, intelligent, powerful Black woman. That's threatening, especially if you think your power is going to be taken away from, or if you feel like she may pose a threat. And I feel like to a lot of white men, she poses a threat. She already, just being who she is going to bring that change. And I'm not 100% sure that I feel like the change that you're hoping for is going to be this radical change. And I just don't think that it's going to be radical change. No. I think it's going to be enough change to get us away from, or at least to start in the direction of, wow, we need to change a lot of things. But I think I think the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris ticket is starting that change again.
Joe Biden has pretty much ran on nothing will change up to this point.
Yeah, I think it's different because he's got a Black woman at the moment, and it's all about accountability, and it's all about trying to preserve the party. That's one. And number two, trying to make people happy. And I think that those two leaders, these are career politicians. They're career salespeople, in my opinion. So they are going to try and do the best they can. Because I do feel we're at a different time, to please the American people, to please the majority. So yeah, I think that I think that's the ticket. I don't know if just like with Obama, everyone was looking for this radical change, and he was just the start. And I think that he continues to be just the start, because here we are now with Kamala Harris. That to me is very, very progressive. That really the next sort of like person I thought would be next on a VP ticket to be sort of progressive would either be a gay, conservative white man, or a straight Midwest white woman, older white woman.
On the Democratic ticket?
On the VP ticket, correct. So this is pretty big. This says a lot about where we're going. And I think that's promising.
You're familiar with Cornel West, right?
Yes.
Okay. I love that guy. His critique of picks like this and other kind of, I guess, some other people that have gotten to high positions within the Democratic Party is he feels, and I agree, that the Democratic Party kind of uses people that fit a certain identity to kind of shield them from criticism. He refers to it as brown faces in high places, because he says it doesn't even matter if we elect brown people to these positions like president, VP, these higher offices, we still get the same policies that white people that we were complaining about give us. So, I'm just kind of wondering, do you feel like there's any, because there's a few issues that have it seems like every election are like the primary issues that the media focuses on and Democratic candidates focus on for specifically for Black voters. And given the fact that Kamala Harris is biracial, but they're not talking about her Indian heritage, they're referring to her as a Black woman, not a biracial woman. I'm assuming that she was kind of picked to try and, I don't know, give specifically Black voters a sense that like, hey, we hear you and we're going to do something for you this time. You know, given the key issues for Black voters, do you feel you've seen anything from her or Biden that gives you any hope that they're actually going to address these key issues for Black voters, like the criminal justice reform, kind of the war on drugs, I guess, is tied into that. I feel like there's a third one I'm forgetting about, but because there's always like those are like the big issues the media always focuses on when they do the primaries. Those are the issues they always get asked on about, like, you know, what are you going to do for, you know, to address this and help the Black community? Do you feel that Biden or Harris have given you much hope that those key issues are at least going to get addressed?
If we're looking on, again, if we're looking on their history, you know, Kamala Harris as a DA, no, you know what I mean? No. But what I can tell you she didn't do is lock up peaceful protesters during the just as an example, during the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah. For
exercising their rights, literally for exercising their rights.
Yeah.
That's what she didn't do. So if you want to compare it to like, well, she, you know, locked up people. Oops, sorry, our timer went off. But if you want to compare it to you know, her, you know, locking, you know, incarcerating tons and tons of Black people. Yeah, it's fucked up based on, you know, crime and drug, you know what I'm saying? But like, I'm saying what we have right now, I am more than happy to take Kamala Harris and Biden to instigate that change, because the alternative is not acceptable. It's just not acceptable. And anybody who's comfortable with that, who's like, well, it is what it is, or who says, well, you know, I can't vote for Biden and Harris, it's like, then obviously you're comfortable with the alternative, or you see it as no better. And I just on that, locking up people who are exercising their right, their freedom of speech, their desire to stay alive.
Yeah.
Lives are hanging in the balance. You know, kids and kids, like, there's so much. I am okay. I am okay if this is a continuation of Obama. Okay. So as you're saying, Cornel West says, oh, you know, basically you just put puppets in there, right? Is what he's saying. You're just putting puppets in there. I'm okay if we're putting a continuation of Obama and this leads to something else, because my thinking is it will lead to more of a progressive. It will lead to more progressive change. It's not going to be we're unlike any other country in history. I mean, we're unlike any other country, period. Excuse me, in history. So we don't operate the same.
Yeah.
And we can't expect to just all of a sudden be socialist. We can't expect to all of a sudden be progressive, because we're just not. And there's no way of changing that overnight. And I don't think that that Biden and Harris are going to do that. But I do think that they will incite something.
What concerns me the most about, in terms of just them, because I know they're not progressive and they're not going to be progressive. I don't expect that. But what concerns me the most about them in terms of them just even being willing to work with progressives and throw them a bone, as they say, is when you look at the convention that I think is next week, the speaking slots and all that stuff that they've announced. AOC, who is arguably the most popular Democrat, not named Bernie Sanders in the country, they didn't even give her a speaking slot. Like they only allowed her to do like a quick, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 minute recorded message. They didn't even invite her to come there and speak. And she's the face of the progressive movement. So it's like normally in that situation, you would invite people that you don't agree with in your party to come speak on the first night, just, you know, the second night, because it's a 3 or 4 night event. Same with Bernie Sanders. They did not give him, you know, given everything he's done and how he's kind of like sacrificed his reputation in some ways, because a lot of his supporters are upset with him about some ways he hasn't challenged Democrats. Given everything he's done to help them, they didn't reward him with like a speaking slot of like any kind of prominence, like, you know, when the national when the nation's going to be watching, like at nighttime, like they gave him like a speaking slot in the middle of the day or something like that. Same with Andrew Yang. Same with God, there was another progressive person that they invited, but they just kind of like snubbed them. So it's like, oh, Elizabeth Warren was the other one. They didn't give her anything prominent either. So given that they're not even like letting any progressives have like any kind of platform during when the nation's going to be watching the Democratic media, it seems to me like they're trying to distance themselves pretty hard from progressives and those progressive ideas, which is a big concern for me because I'm like, you're supposed to be unifying the party right now. And, you know, normally you would try to do that with a VP pick. They didn't pick a progressive, which we knew they weren't going to, so no surprise there. But then normally you would kind of give some progressives a time slot in the convention to kind of be like, look, you know, we kind of gave you a little spotlight. But they didn't even do that. So I'm less optimistic than you, but I think ultimately it's always going to boil down to, are we willing to hold them accountable? Because, you know, if not, nothing's going to change. But if we hold them accountable, I think hopefully we can pressure them into some positive things because, you know, they do need our votes.
I actually don't think that the Democrats want to be seen as progressive.
Oh, they definitely don't.
And I also don't think that now's a good time for the Democrats to appear progressive on either side anyway. So I actually think that it's because I think that I think it's very interesting right now that we have two, in my opinion, two essentially very moderate Democratic candidates.
Yeah.
They're very moderate. In my opinion, they're nearly Republican.
Yeah.
So I don't think it does them any favors by having somebody like AOC on there or Bernie on there. This is my thinking, okay? But again, I do think that we're seeing the pressure, the American pressure, the American constituents applying the pressure, and the progressive Democrats are applying the pressure, and things are starting to change. And I think we're gonna hear a lot more of, you know, we can't forget about things like social media, and we can't forget about things like entertainment influencers, you know what I mean? Like musical and, you know, people in entertainment, basically, and what kind of power. They've got more power than politicians, and and most of them are progressive. So I think we'll start to see what you're hoping to see through that type of movement. But I don't think it's going to be through Biden and Kamala's like doing?
No,
I
the only
really think
reason
her Biden and Harris. Sorry, because I feel that's disrespectful. But
Biden and Kamala. The only reason that I think it does kind of matter a little bit is I saw something yesterday on CNN or MSNBC. It was showing, I think it was just registered Democrats voter turnout. And it said in 2008, it was 60% of registered Democrats turned out to vote. 2012, it went up to like 64%. Or no, it went back to 20. Sorry, it went back to John Kerry. John Kerry was 60%. Barack Obama, it went up each time. So it went up to like 64, then 68%. Then with Hillary Clinton, it dropped all the way down to 59%. And when you elect two candidates that are pretty much like have the same politics as Hillary Clinton and a lot of the same policies and a lot of similar baggage to Hillary, um, I'm concerned that it won't bring out voters the way Democrats need. Because I mean, that's a known thing. You study political science. I took political science classes. You learn it in college, like day one. When people turn up to vote, Democrats win. When people don't show up to vote, Republicans win. Like that's been the case for like the past 70, 80 years in this country. So it seems odd to me that Republicans knowing or Democrats knowing that the more people that show up to vote, the better their chances are of winning. But they're kind of, I don't know, they elected two candidates that are pretty much the same ideologically. They didn't really pick one candidate that appeals to one part of the Democratic base and another one that appeals to the other, because Democrats are, you have your moderates and your progressives, but they're doing nothing to appeal to progressives. But then if progressives don't show up to vote for them, they're going to blame them for the loss as if they did nothing wrong. And it's
but
just,
you're
it
thinking
seems,
they're just but you're thinking I feel like your thinking is a little bit limited because let's still not forget about likability. The way Americans vote is by looking at someone, by a feeling. They really don't. Most people who are interested in politics will give like oh I agree with that person's like line of thinking and oh yes they'll give it time. But most people are like, do I like the way that person looks? Do I like the way that person talks? Do I see myself in them?
I think that was Bernie Sanders' problem.
Do I feel emphatic about what they're saying, or not even what they're saying, how they're saying it? Most of the time voting is emotional. It is not really intellectual.
Not at all.
And there's a small percentage of people that actually say like, you know what, I've been studying this person from way back when, and I know how they've done this, what they've thought about policies, what they have actually done in the past, what I know, I align with all of the things they say currently. Lots of people don't vote like that. Many people don't vote like that. For
No.
most people who voted for Barack Obama, as we know, voted for him because he was black. So it'd be different. I think it'd be a lot different if it was Elizabeth Warren and Biden. I think it'd be a lot different.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's Biden and Harris. I think a lot of the reason why Trump got into office is because he looked and acted different, not because of what he like stood for, but because he looked and acted different. He was another big change. It was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like even me,
Yep.
I was like, huh, this man, he's an idiot, but I don't know. I was really, I was like, he's something, you know what? He'll shake shit up. He's something different, and most people, it's not intellectual. It's a 3-second thing. Do I like you? Do you look nice on television? Do you look like a president to me? Or don't you look like a president to me? Do I vibe with you? As rudimentary as it sounds, which is why I feel like, people in entertainment will have more power than politicians do.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I feel like they can. Um, damn, you just said something that reminded me of something. So 2016 obviously was a nightmare year for a lot of people. Um, and there are some ways in which this does feel similar to 2016 in that um, there were some, let's call them shenanigans, involved in the 2016 Democratic primary that left a lot of people feeling a certain way about the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton, um, which I think is why voter turnout was kind of low. Those shenanigans were even worse this time. Sorry, back to 2016. Because of all those shenanigans, people were kind of like expecting and hoping that Hillary would pick somebody a little more, I don't know, a little more progressive than, was it Tim Kaine, which nobody had even heard of before. And he seemed just kind of like, I don't know, the most boring guy in the world to me. I was kind of floored by that pick. But at least Kamala's not boring, so I will give him that. Um, but people kind of had similar feelings about Biden and the way the 2020 primary went down this year. There's been this talk for the past like 3 months, like how's Biden gonna get progressives on board so he doesn't have a repeat. Um, Kamala obviously was not progressive, but I feel like the one thing that's different about this election than last time is we have 4 years of Trump, and you have 4 years of basically being told every day you have to get rid of Trump. So a lot of people, that's their only concern. They don't care about anything else other than voting out Trump. Like Joe Biden's past doesn't matter. Kamala Harris's past doesn't matter. Like it really doesn't matter. Nothing they could do matters at this point. They will just vote against Trump, which is, I don't know, a little crazy to me, but I understand that's just where we're at. Um, do you feel like it's in the bag at this point, or what do you feel could actually get Trump reelected at this point? Because we're 2 months out. I mean, ballots are going to be getting mailed out in a couple of weeks. Like a lot of people are going to vote early in a couple of weeks. I will. Um, so is there anything that you could foresee happening in the next like 2 months that could swing this thing in favor of Donald Trump?
Yeah, shit. I mean, last time we thought Trump was going to win. You know
Uh,
what I mean? Yeah, I think he's got a hell of a good chance to win this shit because I think there are many people who, like yourself, are afraid of voting for Biden and Harris and are pushing this narrative of what did she do the past 10 years and are all the memes are coming out already. The memes are coming out, her as like a policeman and all this shit. And it's really, and it's floating around social media, and we'll never forget the power of social media. I mean, look, we've got a TV reality star right now as president. So yeah, I think the man could definitely be in office, especially, I mean, considering what's happening right now with this pick. Tons of Black people are divided on this issue, and it's like, would they be divided if it was a Black man running in office? I don't think so. I do not think so. There's also, this talk about Kanye West,
Still running?
and huh?
Is he still running?
Yeah, there's all this talk about Kanye West, about how he just met with Jared Kushner in Colorado, and they're trying to like push his name on the Republican ticket, and they're really, so it's like, look, there's tons of things that could, you know what I'm saying, that could, where we could find ourselves right where we could find ourselves back where we are, and honestly, I think that's a very real thing. And so I really think that pushing around this whole like, well, Kamala did this and Kamala did that. She's not VP. She's never been VP. And we can look at her past record as a DA and as a senator, but what she has said she wants to do and will do, let's see if she can do it. So anything about the fucking past is really, in my opinion, it's just like, it's not relevant because she's nothing right now. Nothing. As much as I want to say like, well, I can deal with Trump. I can't. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. And obviously I can't deal with it because I'm in Australia right now. So I can't deal with it, you know? And I want to go back home. So it's deeply personal for me. There are people, you know, like my people who look like me, our lives hang in the balance. You know, there's lots of things that that make this particular election not a game. You know, this is real life, and so I'm over talking about her past. I'm over talking about, oh, nothing's going to change. I don't want what we currently have.
Yeah.
We're lost. We're lost with what we currently have. And anybody, I feel like anybody who says like, well, it's no better. It's like, just a second here. It's like people have been protesting at the moment to live, and people are getting locked up for it. It's just as a minor thing. There are kids still in cages. Yeah. Like, we've got a Betsy. We don't like education. Like,
I feel like the one thing that I appreciate about Trump's presidency is it's basically taken a mirror and held it up to every American's face and been like, this is what your fucking country is. And this is what your country has been for your entire life. Even though you've been pretending it's not, this is what your country has been your entire life. Like, don't care how old you are. The shit Trump's doing, the shit Trump's saying, it's not anything new. It's just they didn't say that shit on camera before. They said that shit off camera. The policies he's passing are not really, I mean, some of them, or he takes them to another extreme, but like, I don't feel like he's taken the country in a different direction. I feel like he just stepped on the gas pedal and started driving us a little faster than we were comfortable with. Because I feel like we've been heading the direction that Trump's taking us for decades.
We have an outward racist, we didn't have an outward racist culture. Okay.
But America's supposed to be a white supremacist culture, so that would be an outward.
It is, right? but it's because it's been systemic, and it's infiltrated, and it's remained because of the systems in place. But it doesn't necessarily have, like, I have lived in outwardly racist countries, and it's crazy. Yeah. It is a crazy experience. So I know what it now feels like, because I'm like, whoa, this like, I'm not saying that like there aren't other countries of which aren't racist, but I have felt what it feels like for someone to just be like, listen, I actually don't like you because you're Black. Get the fuck away from me, and you're not going to have the same rights as me. And I'm saying that for everyone to hear. So now we're in a different climate right now with the current administration, because that's basically what's happening. And that's fucking crazy. Yeah. That's fucking crazy that's normal now. Right now it's normal. It's like, oh, well, you know, so you're right in that, yes, it's like he's really held up a light, and he's told all these racists, he's told all these people, like, yeah, you're right. Big money matters. Yes, you're right. Black people don't matter. Yeah. And you know, basically any minority, you know, they don't really matter. And, you know, education doesn't really matter. And he doesn't necessarily have to say it. He says something like, white supremacists or white nationalists are just, you know, or some of them are good people. Yeah. You know, or you know, not saying it by saying, yes, let's have Betsy DeVoe. You know, what's her last name? DeVoe. Let's have Betsy DeVoe in, you know, in this fucking position, leading education with no experience, and defunding all of our education.
Yeah, it's the irony of Trump's
saying education doesn't matter. I get it.
He said he was going. One of his big things that I think was like one of the main reasons he got elected was he ran on this whole what was this, drain the swamp thing. Like, because the brilliance of Trump in the election, and the moment I knew he was going to win the Republican election, was when he stood on that debate stage, pointed at Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, and multiple other congressmen on that stage, and said, I gave your campaign a lot of money. I gave your campaign a lot of money. I gave you a lot of money. And guess what happened? You passed laws that helped me out. When he straight up called them out to their faces, said, I bribed you and you passed laws that benefited me. I was like, dude, just won the election right there. Well, at least the nomination. Because I was like, holy shit. That's what I wanted Bernie Sanders to do. Like in 2016 and 2020. I wanted him to like point at them and like call them out on their corruption. He never did it. Trump did it. And it's like the American public has known our politicians were corrupt forever, but we've never seen a politician actually call out other politicians to their face, like just straight up, like you take bribes and pass laws to help people to bribe you. Like I've never seen that before. Never seen a Democrat do that. And he's the only Republican I've ever seen do it. But he can't do that now because he can't talk about draining the swamp now because he basically came in and just filled his cabinet with all these same people that he criticized the Republicans that he ran against for filling their cabinet with. So I don't know what the hell Trump can even run on this election because, I mean, basically he's just his only thing. The only thing that I think could get Trump elected is the protesting in like certain cities. It's kind of like Portland has never stopped protesting. Seattle, I don't think has ever stopped protesting. Chicago's kind of getting off the hook. I don't know about New York. I think DC's never really stopped protesting. So some of these cities have kind of been having some issues that, you know, if that continues for months and months up till the election, that's the only thing right now I can see helping Trump win. Because that's basically what got Nixon elected in '68 was all the riots and protests after King died. Nixon came in and people were, you know, after a while, people are like, I just want shit to go back to normal. I don't want to keep seeing cities on fire and protests. So instead of thinking about like, why are these people protesting and what's led up to that, they're just like, I'll vote for the guy who says he's going to end this and get things back to peace. And that's kind of what Trump's whole campaign is right now is law and order. I'm going to come in here and stop these protests. We're going to have law and order, you know, that's his thing. That's about the only path I see to victory for him. And
Well, it's a good thing we've got two moderates if that's what you think.
yeah.
Because if you think that's a possible reason, then it's a very good thing that we've got two moderates rather than two serious progressives.
People aren't going to run on that. They're not going to talk about law and order.
What?
They're going to distance themselves as much as possible from law and order.
We'll see about that.
Because it's going to turn off a lot of Democratic voters, especially younger voters. Well, I don't know. I don't think Democrats care about young voters, but you know,
it's all about likability. I think we're really forgetting about it. It's just likability. It's just likability and something different.
Yeah, the debates should be interesting. I don't even know what's going to happen there.
I think I told you. I feel like did I tell you? I'm not sure. I feel like it's all going to be like with Biden and Trump. It's going to be a bunch of like yo mama jokes and shit.
Oh yeah. I don't expect a lot of fact-based stuff.
No, you do 10 push-ups. No, you do 10 push-ups. Fuck you.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's gonna be a thing.
Yeah, I think they're only doing 3, so shouldn't be too bad. Hopefully.
I really want to see fucking Pence and Harris.
Yeah. I never really watched the VP debates because I don't really care too much about the VPs because they don't do anything. But
I will now.
Yeah, I'll probably check out the first one because I mean, Mike Pence comes from my home state.
I know.
I don't think I've really ever heard that dude talk more than like just whatever I see from him in the media. I've never heard him give a speech or debate or anything.
I really didn't understand why he was chosen as VP. I never will get that, but I realized it never mattered whether he was there or not. So he needed someone who was just a body.
It was the Christian vote.
It was a Christian. There we go.
You had to pick somebody that was super like radical Christian to please the evangelical vote because that's huge. I mean, the evangelical vote for Republicans is kind of like the black female vote for Democrats. It's in the bag. It's like 95% every time. They gotta appease them. So
what Biden and Harris need to do is they need to fucking get to all the fucking excuse me, I keep cussing here, but get to all the celebrities and tell them to endorse them immediately.
They already have. Everybody's been Biden.
No,
Harris.
like all the killer mics and
Oh, Killer Mike ain't gonna get on that page.
yeah, we need them. We need all the killer mics, and we
Get
need
Ti.
yeah, we need definitely from the South. We need like, you know, we also need that whole gen, like that whole Gen Z. I'm sorry, I like never finish a thought. You know what I realized? I have like cluttered thinking.
Yeah,
You heard of this?
I have the same thing. You start
I
saying
can
one thing, you
never
get
finish a thought because I'm literally 3 thoughts in, and then by the time I think I'm done, I'm already talking about something else, and I'm just like, what the fuck? I didn't even finish. But anyway, whatever. Anyway, then we need all the celebrities. We need the Beyoncés to endorse Biden, Harris, but people, you know,
has she
we
not
need
already?
all, huh?
Beyonce is a loyal Democrat. Has she not supported them already?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah,
We
she
need like,
versus every
you
Democrat.
know, the Billie Eilishes and all of them, the Rihannas to get on there, and Rihanna's not even as popular anymore. We need all those little Gen Z, little babies, little Duval, little, all the cracks, you know what I mean? All those kids. We need them. As soon as they get those little kids,
They had them in
over.
2016.
Huh?
They had them in 2016.
No, see, the thing is, what I feel like what happened with 2016, excuse me, is they got the millennials.
Okay.
They did not get the Gen Zs, and they don't know how powerful those fucking the Gen Zs are nuts.
Yeah.
Those are those are the dudes. Those are the bitches to get, because they're not about being in the system to change the system. They're about changing the fucking system, burning it all down, lighting it on fire, and redoing it. So if they can get those motherfuckers, which I think they can through entertainment,
Yeah. We'll see.
it's a wrap. They get all those little TikTok stars to endorse them.
It seems
It's
like
over.
they usually ignore young voters because young voters, as you know, have a very long track record of not showing up to vote. It's like they always complain, but then they never show up to vote.
Totally different, because we're forgetting about the power of social media, and we're forgetting about the fact that we're now a virtual culture. We're all virtual. We do everything virtual. I
That
mean, look
was
at
one
this.
of the big things for Bernie in 2020 is he was relying on young people to actually show up and vote in the primaries, and they didn't. And
Where was this? What was this?
in the primaries in 2020, Bernie was thinking that because in 2016 when he ran, it wasn't until like, I don't know, 6 or 8 states in before Bernie Sanders kind of was like national rock star status. And it was kind of, he started off such a disadvantage in 2016. You know, they thought in 2020 it'll be different because he's the most popular politician in the country. Everybody loves him. The young people love him. He was selling out stadiums, went hard on the social media program, and they thought, you know, he's going to turn out a lot more young people on par with like he was trying to surpass what Barack Obama did in like 20. I think it was 2008 is when Barack Obama turned out young people like the best of anybody's ever done. So Bernie thought he could eclipse that because he was so popular and everything, and he didn't. So that's why I'm like, I don't know how you
Because
get these young people,
Bernie is because Bernie's not hot.
but young people loved him. Those were the people.
It
In those
doesn't matter. It was young. It was young millennials or people just on the cusp of Gen Z. Those were the people who cared about shit. Millennials care about shit, and want to get in the system to take it down.
Yeah.
That it's just the wrong generation, and also like, it's like I just feel like we forget about the fucking the person who I was surprised who didn't become president was oh my god, from
Rice?
Massachusetts. From Massachusetts, he was
Cory Booker.
No. He didn't run this year. He ran against Obama. He was hot. Hot. He's the one who did who in Massachusetts we had the healthcare. We started that, and it was his thing that what's his name?
Mitt Romney.
Yes.
Oh, what are you saying about Mitt Romney? I thought you were talking about a
Yeah.
Democrat.
Yes, Mitt Romney was the guy who is the guy who I still cannot believe he did not become president. The man looks like a president.
You thought he was
He,
going to beat Barack Obama?
I thought he was gonna beat Barack Obama.
Oh no, man! Barack Obama's got the smoothest tongue of any politician in our lifetime. Like there was no way
What?
he was losing.
He does, but does he look like any former president? No. And if we're going off history, like you like to do, Obama is not the person I thought was going to even. Oh my God, I thought Mitch was going to sweep that motherfucker off the floor. I was like, no, there's no way. This man looks like a president, and he's attractive. He's got my vote.
The funny thing is, in 2008, my when it got down to the final three, I think it was Biden, Hillary, and Obama. Biden was the one I kind of liked the most in 2008 because I wasn't really that aware. I wasn't that informed back then. But
Chris,
yeah,
here we go. Look at us. It's been too long. You know how long it's been? I know it's got to be at least an hour. And we
yeah,
just keep rambling.
probably we could go forever and more, but I guess we'll end it here. And
The cluster thoughts. The
yeah,
cluster thoughts. I think we might need to change our show to the cluster thoughts because I feel like that's what we're doing.
yeah, yeah, certainly. But Kamala Harris is here. I guess over the next 2 months, we will see kind of what her and Joe Biden do to win this election, and if Trump can do anything to save his dictatorship for another 4 years. The question is, everybody's. I've been wondering this since the day Trump got elected, because studying history, like I'm well aware of how dictatorships start, and kind of like they don't just start off immediately dictatorships. Like they ease their way into it. They test the waters, and Trump's tested the waters multiple times. We haven't responded in the way that makes me comfortable enough to think if Trump says fuck this, I'm not leaving, even though I lost the election. I don't respect this election. Is the military going to go in there and remove him? Because cops adore Donald Trump. The military adores Donald Trump because he's a strongman dictator, and that's just kind of who they gravitate towards. So it's like, even if Joe Biden wins, is he going to be the president, or are we just going to become a dictatorship then? Like that's kind of, I don't know. That's a different conversation though. But I hope Kamala Harris and Joe Biden can, bring about some change we desperately need, because I don't think we can return to the way things were before Trump, and we definitely can't keep going the same way that we've been going under Trump. Because
We can return to the way things were going before Trump. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
that'll be
yes, we
that'll
can.
that'll
yes,
be a new episode.
we can.
We'll talk about that another time. But that's it for this time. If anybody watching this, if you like it, like, subscribe, share, get our name out there, help other people see the brilliance that is Chris and Kai on Kinky Politics. Next time.
Oh my God. Orange is not my new black.